Streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and blasttheradio.com, this is The Lowell Green Show. The number to call and be heard around the world is 613-413-2217. Or email Lowell at blasttheradio.com. And now, here is Lowell Green.
Well, what do you think, folks? So far, during the inquest into the Emergency Measures Act, have you been able to detect even a slight whiff of competence from anyone at any time, anywhere, ever? After hearing evidence so far, what's your feeling about the state of the nation's leadership? Are we in good hands here? Are we in any hands? Ay, 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 ay. Have you ever, honestly, seen so much obvious screwing about, stumbling, bumbling, farting? I mean, it's unbelievable to think that senior people, from the police chief to the mayor, to the head of the RCMP, to the head of God knows what. I mean, it would appear that none of them can tell their arse from page 4 or page 5. Hell, I don't think they could tell their arse from page 6. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Hey, listen, you know what? If this is the best this country can provide as leadership, God help my children. God help my grandchildren. God help my great-grandchildren. Ay, 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 ay. I swear to God, you could find more competence in any, reasonably intelligent kindergarten. Maybe even junior kindergarten. Unbelievable. And, I mean, they contradict each other. The police chief says, well, all those stories about them not liking me, it's not true, it's just rumor. Oh, God. One policeman says, we had tow trucks all lined up, ready to go. The next guy says, well, no, that deal fell through. Oh, yeah. I mean, the mayor says, nothing we could do. Oh, they let the trucks park against the law on Parliament Hill and did nothing about it. It's unbelievable. Total, absolute, complete, utter farce. Farcical. Look up the word farce. Ay, ay, ay. Anyhow, that's one topic. I have another topic. What should happen to those education support workers who break the law and strike this Friday? As you know, legislation has been passed declaring a strike illegal. The law does provide fines of up to $4,000 per person per day for anybody who defies the law and walks out. Union says, in effect, we, the union, we are above the law. We don't have to obey the law. We will not obey the law. Workers will walk out this Friday, and we, the union, we will pay your fines. Well, if you do the mathematics, they must have a hell of a lot of money in their hope chests, because 55,000 workers at $4,000 a day, it works out to about $2.25 million per day. Oy, 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 oy. The government yesterday did increase its offer to 2.5% for anyone making less than $40,000. 1.5% for all others. Now, it doesn't sound like an awful lot, but I've done some research here to get some comparative figures. I have to remind you that the Trudeau government is offering federal workers a 4-year deal that averages just slightly over 2% a year. So Lecce, the education minister of Ontario, is offering support workers 2.5%. Trudeau is offering just slightly over 2%. But because it's Trudeau, it's fine and dandy. Nobody's talking about striking against, oh no, we're going to strike against the evil Conservatives. Not only that, but according to Statistics Canada, okay, the average annual increase in all labor negotiations this year is 1.8%. So, in fact, the offer made by the government to the support workers is considerably above the average wage that's being dished out, increase, and even above what is being offered to federal workers. But they're going to strike and break the law. Law does not apply. So, what should happen to them if they do, in your opinion? Education Minister Stephen Lecce says his government is determined that students this year will have a full year of in-class learning. We will not allow a strike in our schools this year, he says. And he apparently means it. But the union says, to hell with Lecce, to hell with the government, to hell with the law. We're going to walk out on Friday anyway. So, in your opinion, if they do, what should happen to them? As I say, the law provides fines, $4,000 per person per day, should the government impose that fine. The union, by the way, is demanding pay increases of nearly 12% a year. 11.7% a year is what they are demanding. Something that Lecce says is absolutely impossible. What's your opinion? If the workers defy the law and walk out this Friday, what should happen to them? You know, we know what's happening to some of those involved in the so-called Freedom Convoy. Led away in chains, probably spend months, maybe years in jail, nothing violent, didn't do anything other than organize or help to organize a protest. And they're going to spend a lot of time in jail. But you can be damn sure that no teacher, no support worker, no matter if they break the law, most of the people who are going to go to jail or have already been in jail for the convoy did not break the law, but they're in jail or going to be in jail anyway. But you can be sure, that support workers, teachers will never go to jail. Holy smokes! Talk about a double standard. Here we go again. But we're in good hands, folks. All you have to do is just have a look at what's going on at that inquiry with all the leaders, police leaders, political leaders, et cetera, et cetera. I often wonder sometimes, like, can these people get their pants on? Can they get their skirt on? I mean, how are they able to dress themselves in the morning? Like when they shower, do they sort of have to check with somebody to see what body parts need to be? Well, I don't know. Are they stupid, incompetent, careless, or all of the above? Folks, it's quite astonishing. And as I say, if this is the best we can come up with to lead this country, God help our grandchildren. John, what sort of response are we getting here, dear?
Did you see Trudeau's comment regarding the legislation in Ontario?
No, what did he say?
Oh, it's wrong. It's wrong to use the notwithstanding clause. It's wrong, says the guy who put the Emergency Measures Act into place.
And
oh my God!
And the media will play that up, and of course, Doug Ford, Lecce will be the bad guys, the bullies, and everything. It's quite astonishing. Do you realize that nobody other than the Sun chain has even mentioned the fact that Trudeau stayed in a $6,000 a night hotel room? It's the double standard is so obvious, so blatant. And if you address another journalist about this, oh no, there's no bias.
We brought that up on a show late last week. My mother, my biological mother, sends me. I've got two moms, right? Biological mom, adopted mom. Biological mom sends me a link. Oh, I heard you and Lowell saying you couldn't find the story anywhere, and I don't know what this link was that she found, but it was buried deep in the internet. Thanks, Mom. All right. We're on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, and of course on btrradio.com. LowellGreen.com has got your show links, your podcast, etc. And the number here is 613-413-2217 by email, lowell@blasttheradio.com. All right, let's get to it. Your comments so far on Facebook from Ann. Lots of ass covering going on. Monkeys running the zoo. Kathy says the rich get richer and the poor get poor.
Can I just comment on the monkeys?
Yeah, of course.
I like monkeys. I've had monkeys.
Have you?
And I find them pretty intelligent. And I think comparing the leadership that we see at this inquiry to monkeys is an insult to the freaking monkeys. Go ahead.
I guess when you had the pet shop, is that when you had monkeys?
Yeah.
Was that allowed?
Oh, sure. In those days, anything went.
I'd like to have a monkey.
It's a different world today, believe me.
Sure is. Hey, let's go to a YouTube comment. Ken says, find them all. Sick of teachers asking too much and not doing enough of it.
Well, these aren't teachers. These are support workers, but I understand your sentiment. Go ahead.
You asked for a definition of farce, by the way. The definition of farce. It's a noun. Plural noun, farces, a comic dramatic work using buffoonery and horseplay, and typically including crude characterization and ludicrously improbable situations.
Well, it's ludicrous, and there's no question, and it's improbable. So it fits. Farce fits is the apt description. Go ahead.
What about the notwithstanding clause with the language law in Quebec, asks Laurentian View Terry. What a farce, he says.
Yeah, right. Quebec has used the notwithstanding clause a couple of times. Pod problem there, no problem there.
No, it's wrong. Oh, no, it's not. No, it's not wrong. Right. Todd says it wasn't a law. They're making it a law now. Trudeau could bring it to Parliament to stop Lowell Green from talking tomorrow, just like the Emergency Act. So come on. It's the only tool the unions have when the other side will not negotiate.
What's he talking about? The only tool. It's not the unions aren't using the notwithstanding clause. It's the government. Holy jeez. Stay informed, please. Go ahead.
Eileen, I'm so sick of those teachers. They have a good job, good benefits, good money. It's just greed, greed, greed. And again, a reminder, it is not the teachers.
Yeah, it's not the teachers.
Support staff, custodians, cafeteria.
By the way, the teachers, they say about Irishmen that the Irish are the only people that fought in every war on both sides. And I could say about the teachers have struck against every government we've ever had in Ontario, including, by the way, the NDP. They hated the NDP. The teachers have struck against every government. And I'm talking about every premier we've had, the teachers have gone on strike against every single government. It's just part of the ritual. And of course, the poor students, like they say, oh, it's for the students. The poor students, I mean, and as you know, they've had a rough 2.5 years with the pandemic. And Lecce says, and I agree with him, listen, you know what? No matter what, we are not going to allow a strike. We are going to make sure that our students, this year at least, have stability, that they're in the classroom, and they are learning constantly. There you go.
Nice to have somebody somewhere with some leadership skills, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Agree with him or not, he's showing some leadership skills and standing by. All right, Bruce says, well, Lowell, when I work for the Rancho Country Monitor Manor Nursing Home, we get 2%. I think I remember getting at least 3% one time and was there 17 years. So for the government to come back and give them an extra 0.5% is good for this year and next year. Nick, the way things are going in Ontario right now, people are struggling, and it's the union that represents these workers. They're pushing it.
Yeah, it's the union, of course. Yes. Cupid. Go ahead.
I would have loved a 2% or a 2.5% raise when I worked in private industry. That just didn't happen. Jeez.
Yeah, go ahead.
I would have liked a pizza at lunch. Anyway, teachers, not yet. If Ford gives in, all hell will break loose. Again, not teachers. Support staff. Let's be clear on that. Anne says if Trudeau stays out of issues related to Quebec, he should pay the same respect to Ontario, and the issues in Quebec involved racism, for God's sake. Could Trudeau sicken me more? I doubt it. Peter says Trudeau can't justify any of it. He just lost his temper and unleashed his temper on them. People know who was in the right and wrong of this. I believe that refers to the convoy question. Patricia, there's a saying about being on the same page. They aren't even in the same book, let alone the same library.
I watched some of the testimony. Now, and there's another factor here. And that is that, like, I don't understand why solely, for example, is being questioned about philosophical questions and he's talking about he's always fought against racism. Oh, wait a minute, what's this got to do with imposition of the Emergency Measures Act? The inquiry, which is dictated by law, by the way, the inquiry is to find out if Trudeau was justified in imposing this very draconian law. And there are very specific qualifications required. National threat to national security, threat to overthrow the government, threat of violence that could not be handled, and that all other means had been tried to get these people gone and had not worked. But I mean, why are we talking about Solly's feeling about racism? I mean, this got nothing to do with it. Anyway, I had high hopes for the judge who's monitoring this, overseeing this, but he's allowing this stuff to go on that's got absolutely nothing to do.
Yeah.
And not only that, like even testimony about how difficult it was for people. Well, it may have some relevance, I guess, but that's not. I mean, you don't impose this law because of horn honking. You impose this law if there is a real legitimate threat that the government is going to be overthrown violently. And that all other means have been tried. That's the reason, not because of horn honking. If you know what, if we're going to impose this kind of law and remove our civil rights every time somebody does something that's annoying, we're not going to have any civil rights left at all, ever. Go ahead, please, John.
No, you're exactly right. And it boils down to a handful of questions, and they're yes or no answers. Was there a threat to democracy in this country? Was the government about to be overthrown? Yes or no?
And what proof do you have? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't care about what police chief threatened to cut someone's nuts off or whatever. I don't care.
Yeah, it's very true. It's got nothing. You're quite right. Okay, was there a threat to national security? Was there okay, what proof do you have? What made you in the government believe that there was a threat that these people and their little bouncy castles were going to overthrow the government? Where is the evidence here? I mean, that's the question. That's the only one that actually should be addressed. Go ahead, John.
I'm laughing, but I mean, you're right. Back to YouTube, and Ken says, everyone that's not on the inside of the liberal cabal knows it was unnecessary to evoke the Emergency Act. Over to Ann, she says, if Trudeau, nope, we read that one already. Let's go to Eric. To quote, CUPE represents 105 full-time and 55 part-time janitors and tradespeople at schools with the Ottawa French Catholic School Board. Really? There is more spent on lunch in the UK. Meet the demands or at least negotiate and then rewrite the strike laws later to prevent these annual rotational strikes yearly, holding the kids hostage.
Having a little trouble deciphering exactly what he's saying there, but go ahead.
Me too, Lowell, but my job is just to read them.
I know.
It is for you to understand what I'm saying based on what they're writing to me. Don't shoot the messenger. Lynn, Trudeau was afraid the convoy was going to use common sense, and he doesn't know what that is. Over to Rick. Trudeau drew up the rules of engagement for this inquiry, so we should not be surprised that they will arrive at the conclusion he desires.
Well, no, actually, when the first of all, we had the War Measures Act, which, as you know, was imposed during the October crisis by Pierre. The governments, and I'm not sure whether it was the Harper government. I'm unclear on that, but the governments decided to lessen the severity of the law, and they canceled the war measures and instead imposed this emergency measures. But in so doing, they very carefully spelled out the qualifications, what is necessary, and as I say, they specified that in order to impose this, there must be a real threat of overthrow, etc., etc. So that was imposed by previous governments and agreed to, by the way, by all parties, as far as I can recall, in the House of Commons. Go ahead, please.
Agreed to by all parties?
I believe so, yes. I believe so. Yeah.
That can happen? Hey, 19 minutes into the show. Let's get a word in here for Shields. We'll get back to the comments in just a moment.
Yeah, and here's something we can all agree on, that Shields does a great job. They've done a great job since 1947, whether it's appliances, furniture, a lovely little butcher shop, and now, of course, an official dealer of Sony. They do a good job. You know that very well. When it comes to appliances, they've got them in stock. 90% of anything you would want is in stock, means that they can have it in your house probably the same week. It would perhaps within 2 or 3 days if you're in a real rush. No long wait there. And don't forget, the prices are very, very competitive. Cost of doing business in Pakenham, a little bit less than in most of the major malls here. And folks, maybe best of all, they're not a big chain. This is a family-run business, a local business. If you shop there, you're going to find very good service, very good prices, and of course, top quality material as well. Shields.ca. John?
I was at one of those big box stores today and happened to hear one of the appliance salespeople telling the customer that we could probably have this to you by February. So you're not wrong. Over to Ann. The teachers' unions are already rubbing their hands together, thinking of all the money they will be anticipating getting. And rest assured, if this group has their demands met, the teachers will demand the same. That is how the federal government unions work.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true.
Yeah, she says.
And that's one of the problems. The support workers are asking for 11.7% per year. I mean, totally outrageous. And they have not backed down off of that. But if the government were to cave and give them 11%, 12%, you can be damn sure that teachers with average salaries of 75,000 would be asking for 10, 11% as well, which would shoot them up to about $85,000, $90,000 on average. Go ahead, John.
The Emergency Act was introduced by Minister of National Defence Perrin Beatty in the second session of the 33rd Canadian Parliament, Bill C-77, June 1987. So that would have been Mulrooney, I believe. Yes?
Mulrooney government, okay.
Thank you, Steve, for pointing that out.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, let's go to Gregory. I have video footage of children dancing at Rideau and Sussex during the trucker convoy. Extreme danger, he says. All right, Gregory, why were truckers in Ottawa to get COVID isolation mandates lifted? Because they were the only ones who could bear witness to what was really happening whilst everyone was enjoying CNN and CBC at home. The truckers were real witnesses to actual isolation events. Truckers had every right to be here as such. All right, let's go to
let's
Mike.
Talk about the inquiry, though, okay? This is the key issue here. We you can have your opinion about the convoy, but what's your opinion about what's happening at the inquiry? That's the question here today. Go ahead, please.
And do you want to zero in mostly on the lack of leadership?
Whatever people want to talk about. But one of the questions, and nobody has addressed this yet, if in fact the support workers go out on strike on Friday and break the law,
what should
happen to them? Nobody has addressed that. I find this strange sometimes. It's a very direct question. They say they're going to go out on Friday. If they do, they will break the law. The law provides fines of $4,000. Should that law be applied? Go ahead.
All right, we'll wait on those answers to make their way into our comment section. Of course, that does take a couple of moments, so meanwhile, we'll read what we do have. If Trudeau would have talked to the convoy, this would not have been a problem. Ford needs to stop kissing Trudeau's ass, is a comment from earlier on Facebook. They are all having the Schultz syndrome. I see nothing, I hear nothing, I know nothing regarding.
See, this is what bothers me, okay? So someone says Ford's got to stop kissing Trudeau's ass. The question is, we got two questions here. Number one, if they break the law, this support workers, what should happen? And number two, do you see any competence at the inquiry? So somebody replies, Ford kisses Trudeau. I mean, folks, come on, we can do better. There's no sense in complaining about leadership if this is the kind of response I get to a very reasonable question. Come on, go aheed.
Yeah, and okay, I'll answer your question. It scares the living daylights out of me that in this situation, when we saw this coming, this convoy announced weeks in advance that it was headed this way. We had plenty of time to get all of our ducks in a row, from the RCMP to the military to intelligence to security on the Hill to Ottawa Police to the OPP to the federal government to the municipal government at every single level, and we end up with this absolute
it's all
show?
coming. Yeah, it's coming. It's very, very clearly nobody did their job. Nobody has even, as I say, I don't even see a whiff of competence anywhere.
Well, yeah, agreed. And it sounds to me like nobody sort of established what the chain of command would be. So if we are suddenly faced with, an unexpected event, how the hell are we going to handle that?
God help us.
If we had 2 weeks' notice of this. Anyway, all right, over to Barry. He says the custodians in schools are some of the most grounded in the education system, and most students know their names. They are worthy of the pittance offered.
Well, it
Carl
may
says,
be a pittance, but it's still 2.5% is greater than the average wages being approved across the province.
listen, I wasn't joking when I worked in private industry. There were many, many years that went by where I didn't even get so much as a 1% cost of living increase, Lowell. And I can't speak for you and your situation, but that was certainly mine. I think 2.5%, 2% is, and again, it's above average.
Well,
I
let's
think,
face it. In our industry, the
well,
ratings come out a couple times a year, and they would say if you don't get better ratings, you don't have a job. It was that was really what it came down to.
well, there is
Go
that
ahead,
too.
John.
All right. Why would there be leadership at the inquiry? Asks Joshua. Like most proceedings, the deck seems to be stacked with liberals throughout the process who would have no benefit to finding out the truth. Sad, but not surprising.
Okay.
There you go. Joshua, thank you for actually answering our question. Gregory
I
says
still like to know what you think should happen if those support workers walk out and break the law. When we know what happened to convoy leaders who broke the law, many of them have gone to jail and probably will go to jail for lengthy periods of time. Should the same thing happen if they? Why would support workers be able to break the law with impunity, but not convoy leaders? Go ahead, please.
Okay, so let me pose this question to you. So we are putting the notwithstanding clause into effect in order to put this law in place. What if it's deemed down the road after some inquiry that it should not have been, and we have terminated the employment, let's say, of some of these people who walked
You
off
know
the
what?
job?
And,
Then
and
what?
very good. And also, what happens if we collide with Mars? Go ahead.
All right, fine. I've been put in my place. All right, a text from Peter, 613-413-2217. I almost gave out my own phone number. Yes, fine them, and if breaking the law is a violation of their employment, fire them.
Okay, finally we got a response. Here we are almost out of the program.
Peter, you're our
and
hero.
finally we have a response. Oh, God, go ahead, please.
Let's go to Alberta. The inquiry has yet to prove that Trudeau was correct in the use of the Emergency Measures Act. The mayor and police showed they were incompetent. What were they afraid of?
Very good. Very good. Thank you. Yeah.
Let me see. Ford has bailed out Trudeau on multiple occasions, including standing shoulder to shoulder on the Emergencies Act. Anyone who keeps Trudeau afloat deserves the wrath of voters.
Okay. You don't like Ford. Okay, go ahead.
Inflation is around 15%, so this offer is peanuts, says Kevin.
Inflation's about 7%, a little under 7%. It's not 15%. Well, come on, folks. I mean, do you think you can get a lie like that past me? I've been around the horn too long. Jesus, Murphy, go ahead.
School support workers should be fined and fired, says Maggie. Thank you for answering the question. As for the convoy, there were on social media in mid-January with their plan to come to Ottawa. The union and workers...
Yeah, the question is, was there justification for imposition of the Emergency Measures Act? That's what the inquiry is about. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, and let's go to Ruth. Okay, if Mayor Watson let the truckers in Ottawa since he knew they were coming, then he should be charged with aiding and abetting.
The chances that about as good as me as winning the football pool. Go ahead.
Hey, you won that one.
By the way, I have to tell you about the football. I'm in with a group of great guys.
Oh no, you won the turkey trophy. That's it.
I'm turkey at trouble because I always have the worst picks for 15 years now. Every other member of this group, and there's about 15 of us, maybe 8 or 10, and I'm the only one who's never won it. Okay, so my chances of winning this are not that great either. Go ahead.
To the comment that inflation is 15% and you said it was 7, Kevin is back to say, so you believe the government? How's your pension and savings doing, Lowell?
What's that got to do with anything? I mean, do you think after all of this time you still don't know if I believe this government? What the hell have you been watching? Oh, I know, Disney World. Go ahead. Jeez, Murphy.
All right, Bill, with a direct answer to your question, he says, pull a Reagan and fire them if people would like those. Lots of people would like those jobs, he says.
Yeah, remember that, Ronald Reagan?
Air traffic controllers.
This was the air traffic controllers. And he told them, don't go on strike. We can't afford you to go on. We can't afford the kind of money that you're demanding. Do not go on strike or I'll fire you. They didn't believe him. They went on strike and he fired the whole bunch of them. And you know what? Not one single plane was grounded. Go ahead, please.
Leadership.
Yeah.
Let's go to
Tear
email.
down that wall, Mr. Gorbachev. Go ahead.
Well, Mr. Gorbachev, it's one of the few impersonations I could do. The door was open. Paul in Canada writes to say, hi, Lowell. My feeling is that our Constitution was poorly written with that notwithstanding clause, which basically lets any province do anything, it seems. On top of that, Quebec never signed it, so they bring that up whenever needed. Perhaps repatriating it was another ego exercise legacy project by a Trudeau Sr. at that time.
Nobody wants to talk about the topic. Okay, you know what? Tomorrow I'm not going to give you any topic. You can just talk about, if you want to just give a review of Disney World, and that's fine and dandy. Holy smokies.
Watch John Milkey dance tomorrow. That's what's going to happen. Me dancing, trying to
you know what? For those of you who actually addressed my topics today, God bless you. God bless you. You've brought some happiness to an old guy. Thank you all. We'll be back tomorrow.
The Lowell Green Show is seen and heard live around the world at 2 p.m. Eastern. Connect with us online at blasttheradio.com/Lowell Green. Can't join us live? Download the Lowell Green podcast. Available on Apple, Spotify, Google, and more. Ask your smart speaker to play the Lowell Green podcast. This is a production of blasttheradio.com.